welcome to Deep Dives with Dogs. Well, today we're going to talk about the Hindenburg disaster. The Hindenburg disaster, for those who are not aware, is a rigid airship. Some the Germans would have called it maybe a Zeppelin. Um, a big, basically a big hot air balloon is really what they are, with rotors on them. But it is and the Hindenburg specifically is a decent sized ship. Doesn't hold a ton of people, but holds enough. And for those that have not seen the video of it, it catches on fire. It kills, and in that kills 36 people. 35 of the 97 on board were killed, and then one ground crewman who was also killed. Um, this is basically the end of these things for commercial use. They kind of exist still for a bit longer, and they still exist today. They just aren't nearly used as much. They are more of a relic of a bygone age, if we're gonna be honest. Um, they're very neat vehicles, and you can see why they would be made. Hot air balloons were all the rage. These things are slightly different in the sense that they're filled with gases like helium and hydrogen. Hence why this disaster really kind of happens, is these things are basically ticking time bombs if certain uh, small mess ups happen. And we kind of think that's what happened with the Hindenburg. We think uh, when it caught on fire as it was trying to land in New Jersey, um, that there was a gas leak of some sort on the outside of um, the outer casing of the balloon like area, and there was some atmospheric lightning of some sort, or just electricity, not necessarily lightning itself, but electricity. And that caught fire to the gases that were leaking out and led it to be lit aflame. However, there is one theory I should mention. Some people think that it could have been a anti um, German sabotage, because at this time, 1937 is when this disaster happens. The Nazi Party in Germany is in power, and they are somewhat disliked by quite a few people. So some people think that this was a um, a sabotage on purpose. Do we have any proof of that? No, of course not. And by this point, it would be more or less impossible to prove. But it does make sense. You could see a world where that is something that happens. Um, but yeah, like I've said, this disaster, it does end the use of these rigid aircraft, airships, really what they are, rigid airships in commercial use. Um, I'm sure many people wouldn't have wanted to get on them. Unlike a plane, where it's like, oh, there are disasters that happen. They aren't necessarily because of an internal design flaw of the aircraft. It's more of a freak accident. And while technically the Hindenburg could be considered a freak accident, it is a freak accident that could reoccur very easily because of the gases on these things and the potential for atmospheric electricity setting one off. And I could see a lot of people being kind of afraid of that. Um, at one point, these things were thought that they were going to use them in war, like by a large margin. Actually, the Germans actually thought about a plan like that, and they kind of started it, but it never really took off. It's too expensive. They are a lot more difficult to use per se compared to just using planes. And planes are a lot more effective, just honestly. Um, just how it is. These rigid airships are kind of slow. They are obviously very big targets, and they also can't really carry all that much. You have to scale them very, very large to carry anything that would be considered very, very useful. Um, it's more useful than nothing, but others have planes, gliders, things like that, which are much more effective. Heck, the Allies used gliders to a very high degree during the war to carry things like men, munitions, artillery pieces, even vehicles. So why use something like a rigid airship? Um, but the Hindenburg disaster obviously is very famous for the video of it. It's not super graphic if you want to watch it. Obviously, you can hear the horror in the announcer's voice as he sees what's happening, um, which is, it's not surprising. You know, it would have been quite the shock to see, and you would probably assume that all the persons on board would probably perish. They didn't, but you would assume that just watching it on the ground. But obviously, he gives a very famous line, "Oh, the humanity," and um, his voice obviously is very quivering, and he's just more or less breaks down on it. Um, Awful, awful. Obviously, we're very lucky that most of the people on board did not perish, and most of the people on the ground didn't get injured or perish. Um, Obviously, it still is awful for those that did. Hopefully, it was quick, right? That's what you can always. That's at least what you want to hope for. At least it was quick. But that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you have any reason I can improve these videos, leave a comment down below. I always look forward to your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.